Recently, completely out of the blue, Nintendo just decided to reveal a brand new service known as Nintendo Music. This is an app people have been asking for years. A lot of the soundtracks for Nintendo games are incredible, so people have been wanting a good way to listen to them outside the games themselves. I mean, how am I supposed to go on walks without listening to... I genuinely never thought that they would do this, so I was personally really surprised with this announcement. After using the app for a few days though, I can confidently say that my opinions on it are a bit mixed. While I would say this app does a lot of good, there are a few problems that I wanted to highlight. These problems also tie into Nintendo Switch Online as a whole, which this app is a part of. Now there aren't a ton of problems, but the problems it does have are definitely significant enough for me to want to make a video on it, even if it does end up being super short. If you want more, go watch the 7-hour video. So with that being said, if you enjoyed this quick little rant video, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let's jump right in. So right away, I want to start with just an overview of the app because they did a lot of great stuff with this too, and I definitely don't want that to be overlooked. Obviously, as I said, this app lets you listen to music from several different Nintendo game soundtracks. But it's not just a few songs from the games, it's literally everything. Let's just take Mario Odyssey for example, because it has one of my favorite soundtracks in any game. The great thing about Mario Odyssey is the fact that it has a built-in music player, so you can listen to any song you want as you run around collecting moons. Isn't this such a vibe? However, this doesn't include every song in the game. Songs that are cutscene exclusive or really obscure aren't included in the list. That was kind of understandable to me, and to be honest, they had all of the main songs I'd want to listen to covered anyway. This set of 82 songs was what I was expecting to be included in the Nintendo Music app, so picture my surprise when I opened the Mario Odyssey section to see a whopping 136 tracks instead. That's an additional 54 songs, which really goes to show how thorough Nintendo is being to make sure everything you'd want to listen to is covered. The title screen song is great to see, the song that plays during the brutal cutscene has always been a pretty good one to me, and most importantly of all, they've got this banger. On top of that though, the app even includes small jingles like collecting moons, which they totally didn't need to do, but I appreciate regardless. But on top of how thorough they've been with including each game's soundtrack, the other features of this app are incredibly useful and not something I would have expected Nintendo to ever do. For starters, there's the obvious feature of allowing us to create our own playlist. That one I think they had to have because otherwise this would just be about the worst music player known to man. But also you don't have to just rely on yourself to make these playlists. Nintendo has actually created several of their own, which is greatly appreciated. Of course each game acts as its own playlist, but even within each game, Nintendo has a playlist of top tracks. I'm not exactly sure how they qualify that out, but just looking at the Mario Odyssey list again, I believe it's the most prominent tracks while removing small stuff like the jingles. On top of the game playlist though, you can even find pre-made playlists for specific characters. Who's up listening to the Wiggler playlist? The characters that are available right now are in all honesty pretty random, but I still think the feature is kinda cool. But my absolute favorite feature of this app that they didn't need to add was the ability to extend songs. If you've ever looked up a Nintendo song here on YouTube, you've probably found an extended version of it lasting around 30 minutes. Since video game music is often used to be played in the background of gameplay, they're designed to loop so that they can last for however long the player is in that area for. So while the songs themselves are usually just around 2 minutes long, extended versions allow people to listen for longer with a very smooth loop. I also personally find them very useful as a YouTuber since I use Nintendo tracks as background music all the time and I occasionally yap for longer than the song would normally go for. Now despite how useful extended songs are, I genuinely never expected Nintendo to go through the effort to include an option to extend certain songs. It just seems like something they wouldn't bother with, but since they have included it, I have used this feature a ton. It gives you the option to extend songs to either 15, 30, or 60 minutes, which I think is plenty of time. Now granted, not every song works with this, but it's available for a majority of the songs you'd want it for. Pretty much anything that loops in the game itself lets you extend it. Sorry to all the people who wanted to extend game over music. It's just a window into my dark mind. But okay, I think that pretty much covers all the main features of the app, and by the sounds of things, this is pretty fantastic. Not only does it have the bare minimum features, but it's even got significantly more than that. In fact, I can't really think of anything else feature-wise that I'd want it to have. Each song even gets its own unique thumbnail, which is so cool. I also really appreciate the spoiler prevention feature. It's a great thing to have just to make sure that nobody gets spoiled for an upcoming game. But with all that positivity out of the way, it's time to hate. While I have enjoyed my time with this app, I did notice a few pretty significant flaws that I am far from being alone on. So first up, I wanted to start with one that I actually noticed before the app even released. Now I know that may seem stupid. How did I notice something was wrong before we even knew we were getting this? Well, you're gonna have to bear with me on this one because it is a bit of speculation. While working on my 200k special, I of course needed to gather a lot of music to play in the background throughout. This was going well for a majority of the video's production, but then in the last couple weeks before it released, I noticed something. I tried looking up a song from Smash Ultimate, but all of the uploads of it had vanished. In fact, pretty much the entire Smash Ultimate soundtrack has been taken off of YouTube besides a few smaller channels. Now granted, this could have just been the person who originally uploaded these songs getting bored one day and deciding to delete their channel. But then this also happened to the Mario Odyssey soundtrack, though to be fair, there seems to still be a lot of surviving uploads of that. Okay, before we continue, I do want to issue a bit of a correction here. While there are still a lot of songs being taken off of YouTube, it seems like most of them are just being suppressed in the search algorithm. I'm not really sure how that controls it or if that has anything to do with copyright, but I have been able to find at least the Mario Smash Ultimate remixes, but stuff like the Pokemon songs I haven't been able to find from Ultimate. Now, as I've said, I have not heard of anyone in particular complaining about their channel being taken down because of copyright. There have absolutely been instances of this happening in the past where the uploader has been very vocal about their videos being taken down. So I'm not saying that Nintendo went on another copyright spree, but it's pretty suspicious that these videos got taken down just a month before the launch of Nintendo Music. Now, even if Nintendo's actually behind these takedowns, I highly doubt that they would take down any video that's just using their songs in the background. After all, pretty much every YouTuber uses Nintendo Music, so I think the backlash would be high enough to where Nintendo wouldn't bother. So I'm sure a lot of you are asking then, what's my problem with Nintendo possibly taking down the music off YouTube? I mean, they have the app, so I can always listen to the music on there, right? Well, notice how I said the main game getting taken down has been Smash Ultimate. Where is it? That brings us to the main problem that I and many others have had with this app. While Nintendo has done a great job providing every song within each individual game, they have not done a good job getting a high amount of games on here. Right now, there are only 24 games from Nintendo's entire history included on the app. That is embarrassingly small. Across each console, there are 9 Switch games, 2 Wii games, 2 DS games, 1 GameCube game, 1 Game Boy Advance game, 2 N64 games, 2 SNES games, 2 Game Boy games, and 3 NES games. Oh yeah, and if you're a Wii U or 3DS fan, sorry, you get nothing. There are so many soundtracks that I would love to listen to that just aren't included on the app at all. Most notably for me are most of the mainline Mario games. I mean, they have Odyssey, Galaxy, Wonder, and the original game, but there's no Mario 64 or New Super Mario Bros. And Mario is probably the series that got the luckiest here. Zelda has only got Ocarina of Time and Breath of the Wild. What about Wind Waker or Majora's Mask? Those soundtracks are fantastic. Most of all though, my favorite soundtrack in all of gaming is Smash Ultimate, and it is nowhere to be seen. Now I'll get back to Smash a bit later, but for everything else, Nintendo has at least given a little bit of an explanation. In the original announcement, they said that new soundtracks will be periodically added over time, and look, there's Mario 64. So what am I complaining about? The fact that it's periodic releases. This is what ties us back into Nintendo Switch Online. Obviously, the main appeal of the service beside online play has been the fact that we can play a wide selection of retro games from the NES, SNES, N64, Game Boy, and GBA. However, this too has suffered from the periodic release schedule, and it makes me absolutely horrified for how the Nintendo Music app will work. Just like Nintendo Music, Nintendo Switch Online started with a pretty small selection of games, with new ones getting added over time. By now, they do have a lot of the games that I don't want to play, but they still do not have everything despite being out for years. Obviously, I'm not expecting them to have literally every game released on the consoles, but they're missing some pretty big hitters. The original Smash Bros. Is still not out on the N64 Online app, and that should not be a problem considering the game did not have any third-party characters. The biggest shock to me, though, is the fact that Pokemon Red and Blue are not available on the Game Boy Online service. In fact, none of the mainline Pokemon games are. They are the faces of the Game Boy line of handhelds, being the best-selling game on each, so the fact that they aren't here is extremely concerning. And on top of all of this, Nintendo has way more consoles that just aren't represented at all. For some reason, Nintendo is allergic to releasing GameCube games, which is super frustrating because I'd love the chance to get to play games like Double Dash or Twilight Princess. We have had Nintendo Switch Online for 6 years now, and there are still major gaps in not only the games, but the consoles they have available. So tying this all back around to Nintendo Music, I'm not looking forward to this periodic release schedule. We have no idea how frequent these releases will be or what will even come with each drop. How long will we have to wait for iconic soundtracks to finally make their way over to this service? Because even if they are releasing one iconic game a week, that's going to take forever to get all the songs we may want. And that's assuming they don't just add random games no one cares about like Ice Climbers or something. Now when the app launched, it did only have 23 games, so we have received 2 post-launch, being Mario Wonder and Donkey Kong Country 2. That's a decent sign that they plan on releasing games more frequently than they do NSO games, especially since they didn't make an announcement about Mario Wonder coming on Twitter, but I'm not confident they'll keep up this fast pace. Just like NSO, it wouldn't surprise me if over time they slow down on the soundtrack releases, and with how many iconic games they have, that pace would not be fast enough. I don't want to have to wait multiple years to listen to Milk Bar from Majora's Mask, so they really have to dedicate themselves to releasing soundtracks extremely frequently. But again, if NSO is anything to go by, I'm scared they're going to wait forever until we get some of the most important OSTs. And before we end here, I did want to take a small moment to talk about Smash Ultimate again, because I am very concerned about that soundtrack in particular. As I said, it's my favorite gaming soundtrack because of the sheer number of songs included. Now, the reason it has so many songs though is because most of them are taken from other games or are remixes of songs taken from other games. I'm a huge fan of most Smash remixes, and they make up a majority of the video game music I listen to. But seeing as Smash Ultimate is sort of a collection of highlights from a ton of different games, will Nintendo decide to wait on the Smash series until they can release all those other games first? Of course, that's all speculation, but if that is the case, it's going to make getting those remixes on the app take actual years. And that's just considering the Nintendo games. Smash Bros is of course a collection of not only Nintendo franchises, but a ton of third parties as well. A lot of those third parties have some of my favorite remixes, especially all the Minecraft songs. But would Nintendo be able to get the rights from every single company to include their songs on this app? I'm kinda doubtful. If they aren't able to get them, would they just decide to not include Smash at all? I mean, they could just add the soundtrack without the third parties, but seeing how thorough all the other games have been to release every single song from their game, I'm not sure. Without a lot of the Smash Ultimate remixes though, I can't say this app would ever feel complete. I know I might just end up being concerned about literally nothing, but as far as I've seen, they have made no announcement that Smash Ultimate is even coming to the app in the future. But anyways, that's it for this video. Do you love the Duck Hunt soundtrack and hate me for not mentioning it? Let me know in the comments. Overall, I'd say I'm cautiously optimistic about Nintendo Music because of all the features within the app that are great. If they could figure out a really good release schedule and find a way to include Smash Ultimate, then I'd be very happy. But NSO just doesn't make me very confident in their drip feeding ability. But anyway, before we end, I've got to make sure to thank all of my members, being Madzio2, Miss Jades a Lot, Arson the Raboot, Sir Musty, Ryan, Dscrib, Kid Trunks 15, Belandor, Puggles Are Fun, Trader Mo, Diluted Colors, Cinder CC, Shrugface Uwu, Jade Avery, Pruncel Clone, Thicky Reiki, SJ100, Ungenio TM, Gnarled, CW McCain, Tibby, Hypersaint, JubeTube, Z, Tesseract, Maker, Nuclear, Mr. McMahon 5702, I Am Not Denny BG, Sebi, Hippopotamus, Thick Rib, Neagle Jeagle, Jameson Pageson, Wilbur, Golden Slash 15, Frost, Stuffy Ant, Just Dex, Hezekiah, Concanut, Keep, and Christian Flattery Sequel Edition. But anyways, dry bones for Smash, and I'll see you guys next time.